Hey guys, it's Caleb and welcome back to the pink side. So I'm still losing subscribers, although I'm gaining some back. And the reason for that is because I believe I am weeding out the fakes. In other words, I'm gaining people that want to know about real domestic discipline, and I'm weeding out the ones that just want to talk about spanking all the time. Um, a lot of people are turned off because I've been calling out various elements within the domestic discipline community that don't really belong there. Um, and I've been calling out people who their answer to everything is to spank their woman, and I've been calling out people who treat women disrespectfully within the domestic discipline community. And people wonder why I keep doing that. Well, I keep doing that because the community has been infected with this manosphere red pill crap. And these manosphere red pill people are not real men. They're not. I don't care how many muscles some of them have. I don't care how tough they talk. I don't care what it is. They might teach that men are supposed to lead women, but a real leader leads without degrading. A real leader builds up the people he's leading. He doesn't tear them down. And 95% of the stuff that comes out of the manosphere's various mouthpieces is tearing women down for really no good real reason. Also, a lot of people have been turned off to the fact that I don't recommend spanking for everything. That unlike some others in the DD community, I will let a few rule violations slide before I do any kind of discipline or spanking or anything like that. But that's the way domestic discipline is supposed to be done. You're not supposed to spank for everything. You're supposed to, your woman is human. She's going to have days where she messes up. You've got to let some stuff go. You can't just spank for everything. So what I do is I don't spank for behaviors. I spank for patterns of behavior. So I'm not going to spank you as a woman for once or twice violating a rule. But you start getting beyond that, then the spanking will come. And I preach restraint when disciplining a woman, and I preach restraint when deciding to discipline a woman. And apparently a lot of people don't like that because, again, they just want spanking all the time. But what am I really saying here, guys? I'm saying to be careful with your power. And I will always preach to be careful with your power. Now, I do make videos about spanking and describing how certain spankings should go and describing spankings I've given in detail. You get those videos, and you know you get those videos from me. But I also temper it with wisdom and knowledge, and I'll never stop doing that. Power is a very corrupting thing. And the power that comes with being a man who has the authority to discipline his woman is intoxicating, and therefore it can be dangerous if you don't keep it in check. Now, this isn't to say that your power is wrong. I preach domestic discipline. And I enjoy the intoxication of having the power, this power over my woman. I do enjoy that feeling of intoxication where this power over my woman to discipline her, this is my power, and I do enjoy that power. I mean, I enjoy having that power. I don't enjoy actually disciplining her, but I enjoy having that power to do so. It does make me feel powerful, and it makes you feel powerful too. However, I don't let the intoxication get past a certain point. If you let that feeling of power overtake you, you're going to become a monster or instead of a leader. And that's, and that's what power does to people. Look at all the rulers in history that have had too much power. Genghis Khan, Saddam Hussein, all these people. If you want to know what having unchecked power does to somebody, look at Saddam Hussein. Look at Genghis Khan. Look at really 80% of the rulers in human history, Napoleon, whoever you want to name. You know? In a domestic discipline relationship, that power is yours, and you have the right to it, and you should enjoy the fact that you have that right. But you have to be careful with your power. And it really annoys me that people are unsubscribing to me for that reason. For the reason that I keep driving that point home, to be careful with your power. If you were unsubscribing because you just don't like my content, or I'm boring to you, or whatever, I could understand that. But those of you who are unsubscribing to me are doing so because you just want me to preach that a woman should be spanked for every little mistake she makes. And you don't like hearing that you need to keep your own power in check. But I'm always going to preach that because you do. In your house, if you're running a domestic discipline relationship, there's nobody above you in that house. So the only person you have to keep your power in check, to keep it from going to your head, is you. Now, it's not that hard to do after a while, after you've trained yourself to keep yourself in check, but you have to go through that process. And a lot of you are not willing to go through that process. And you know, I'm starting to believe, I've suspected this for a long time, but I'm starting to believe that a lot of guys in the domestic discipline community don't have much, if any, experience with women. And the reason I say that is because if you've ever been in a relationship with a woman, and especially if you've been in several relationships, you know that women have like their moods. They're going to have their days when they act up and stuff like this. And that's just something you have to accept if you're going to have a real relationship with a woman. There's no getting around this. Every woman has her unreasonable side, shall we say. You can't get around that. So you have to let some stuff go. There's going to be days where your girl's in a bad mood for no reason, and you just have to let it go. If you spank her or discipline her every time she's in that mood, you're going to destroy her self-esteem. Domestic discipline spankings can build self-esteem as long as they're done up to a certain point. But when they get past that point, they become actually abusive. They have the opposite effect. I talk about that in my video where I said spanking is like honey. Spoonful or two of honey, not only does it taste sweet, but it's got a lot of health benefits. But you can consume too much honey for too long, it's going to tear your liver and your insides and your kidneys right up. That's just the reality of the matter. And that's how spanking in a domestic discipline relationship is. You got to choose your spots. You can't use it for everything. So that's why I say, for me, I spank for patterns of behavior instead of behaviors. I'm not going to spank my woman for having one bad day. Now, if she's having a second bad day and a third bad day, I'm going to warn her, hey, you're starting to cross some lines here. If she goes beyond that, then I'm going to give her a full disciplinary spanking, right? But I'm going to give her a couple of chances before I get to that point. That's what a good person does. That's what a real leader does. That's what a real domestic disciplinarian does. You know what I'm saying? Your woman is not perfect. She is never going to be perfect. You cannot spank every sin out of her, every bad behavior out of her completely. It's just not possible. But you can keep things at a level, and you can keep things from getting past a certain point, but you got to give your woman some grace. Am I the leader in my house? Yes. Will I spank my woman when she gets too far out of line? Absolutely. And I'll give her a really good spanking. But I'm going to give her some chances before I give her that spanking. I'm not running a Gestapo in my house. I want to say that again so you understand that. Am I the authority? Yes. But I am not running a Gestapo in my house. I'm just not doing it. Let me bring this back around. If you don't want to hear as a guy that you need to be careful with the power bestowed upon you when you're in a domestic discipline relationship, then the pink side is not for you. My community is not for you. Because then you just kind of want to beat on women or something. I don't know. Or you just want to have power for the sake of power. Or you have good intentions, but you're just going too far with it in your mind. Women are not perfect, just like you are not perfect. A real leader doesn't act like Genghis Khan. A real leader acts like Cyrus. You know, Cyrus in the Bible. And Cyrus wasn't no punk, but God loved Cyrus. Cyrus was a really big, tough, bad, powerful military man. And he was just as rough and tough as Napoleon or Genghis Khan or any of them. But he chose the path of peace whenever possible. He didn't go right for disciplinary measures, either in his dealings with other countries militarily or the way he ruled over his own people. He sought mercy and understanding first. And you have to have a level of understanding if you're going to deal with a woman. If you think you can spank every bad mood out of her, you're wrong. You can't. The only successful way to do that is to basically just destroy her self-esteem and make her a shell of herself. Women need the occasional spanking, but they also need reassurance, hugs, pats on the back, pats on the butt, long conversation, cuddles, whatever. So I will always preach, as a prominent member of the domestic discipline community, I will always preach to be careful with your power. Your first instinct when trouble comes up should not be to go right for the power play. Now, I'm not talking about maintenance spankings, okay, but I'm talking about full disciplinary spankings in this video, just so you guys know. Power is very intoxicating, and the intoxicating feeling feels good, and it should feel good. But it's also very corrupting if you don't get it into check. So am I going to give you the videos you want to hear, describing certain spankings and describing what I've spanked for and all this and that? Yeah. But I'm always going to call out nonsense within the DD community, and I'm always going to preach to be careful with the power that's bestowed upon you in a domestic discipline relationship. That's all.